U.S. federal prosecutors in California have now charged 5 people in connection with the overdose death of actor Matthew Perry. 2 of the accused are doctors. Perry, who gained international stardom as being part of the Friends cast, was found dead last October in a hot tub at his Los Angeles home. An autopsy found the combined cause of death was cardiovascular overstimulation and respiratory depression. The drug ketamine was found in Perry's system. He'd been using it to treat anxiety and depression, but the amount discovered in his bloodstream triggered a police investigation and ultimately the charges that were announced today.
Each of the defendants played a key role in his death. They falsely prescribed, sold, or injected the ketamine that caused Matthew Perry's tragic death. In the United States, most forms of ketamine are only approved by the Food and Drug Administration for anesthesia. A nasal spray version is approved for treatment of depression, but only in a certified medical setting. Here, Matthew Perry sought treatment for depression and anxiety and went to a local clinic where he became addicted to intravenous ketamine. When clinic doctors refused to increase his dosage, he turned to unscrupulous doctors who saw Perry as a way to make quick money.
Reporter Steve Futterman has covered this case extensively, and he tells us more about what we learned at that news conference.
Well, Abby, as you mentioned, there are 5 people charged, but 3 of them have already agreed to enter pleas or work out plea bargain agreements, and they will probably testify for the prosecution in this case. Now, the 2 main defendants right now are a woman who's called the Queen of Ketamine in Los Angeles, and also a doctor, one of the 2 doctors in the indictment. He is one of the main defendants as well. They were arrested today, and they are being charged along with the 3 others. But as I mentioned, the 3 others have agreed to, have already pleaded guilty or are about to plead guilty to some of these charges, and they will be cooperating witnesses. Now, we heard from the U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada. He will be the lead prosecutor in this case, and he said there's no doubt that what was involved in this was motive for profit. People want to make money off of Matthew Perry.
In this case, we are not talking about legitimate ketamine treatment. We're talking about 2 doctors who abused the trust they had, abused their licenses to put another person's life at risk. 5 defendants who, as I mentioned, knew what they were doing was wrong. In fact, one of them has sold ketamine that resulted in the death of another person in 2019. Nothing about what we see today was legitimate, and that's why we filed criminal charges.
Now, the 5 defendants include 2 doctors, the woman described as the ketamine queen in Los Angeles, another street drug dealer, and Matthew Perry's personal assistant. So those are the 5 people being charged here. And they told us at one point during the news conference that Matthew Perry was charged at one point $50,000 for 20 vials of ketamine.
Steve, authorities also spoke extensively about what was happening in the final weeks of Matthew Perry's life. What did you hear there?
Well, it was a very sad story. We know Matthew Perry's long-time struggle with substance abuse. He's been courageously very open about it in the final years of his life. He had been sober for, we believe, around 18, 19 months. But after he began this ketamine treatment for depression, which was legitimate, he got hooked on ketamine. And that's when he began to seek out other doctors. He wanted the legitimate doctors to give him more. They wouldn't. He essentially went doctor shopping. And that's when he got hooked on it again. And it sounds like, although we didn't hear exact details, it was a very slow trail that eventually led to his death. We know he was found dead in his hot tub at his home, and there was ketamine around him. But it was clear that he got hooked on the drug again. And we should point out that ketamine does have legitimate purposes, but it's also become a very popular recreational drug in the drug world in Southern California and elsewhere over the years. So it does have a reputation as a recreational drug as well.
Steve Futterman reporting today from Chicago.